How you doing, guys? Eric from RuleTheWasteland.com. We got at least 6 people already ready to go, which is actually more than usual. And as I mentioned in my chat already, the shirt is in honor of the Gators smashing FSU yesterday. Good times, good times. Give a second for a few more people to jump in here. And I've got this thing I was trying to give away on my mailing list, which I'm going to be giving away more stuff on there as well. So everyone needs to sign up for the mailing list. Sorry this shakes the camera so much. I need to lock that down, but let me see. I can find a link for my emailing list. But today I'm going to give it away on the chat here. Roll Tide. Despicable. So I'm going to write email list. I don't think it'll let me post links, though. Nope, it won't let me do it. Sorry. Damn it. Anyways, I completely lost what I was going to say. Anyways, yeah, this thing. I tried twice to give it away on the email list, and both people didn't respond to the email saying they had won. So today I'm going to give away that and this tactical pen, which has a box. It was eaten by my dog Mongo. I'm going to give them both away on the chat or on the live stream today to people who answer some questions. So the first question is, and the first person to answer this gets it. So if you see someone answer it right, don't just keep typing in the chat. But whoever, and then you get to pick whichever one of these you want. So the first question is, what was the name in the movie The Road Warrior, Mad Max 2, the original one? What was the name of the Lord Humongous's second in command with the red mohawk? First person to put that in the chat gets to pick which one of these they want. Lord Humongous's second in command. What was his name? Whoever gets that right first gets to choose the prize, and I give you some of your info later. So put that in there. But most of what I wanted to talk about today was all the random stuff. Of course, I'll do answer questions, anyone who's on there. I'm with her. We got people just trying to mess with me today. All the stuff that's going on in the world that, what's up, Giannis, that shows how relevant preparedness is. Even though you don't have to worry always about insane shit-to-fan events, there's plenty of stuff happening that basic level up to moderate and even significant levels of preparedness are really important for. Phil McCracken, and wrong answer. Like we have right now, we have riots happening in France. Any type of civil unrest is important to be ready to be able to either defend yourself or possibly hole up in your area, depending on how bad it gets, and be able to put out fires and stuff like that. And so that's one example. Civil unrest has been happening all over the place. Can you recommend everywhere to buy one of those boomerangs from the Mad Max? One that'll chop your finger off? I wish I could. That the feral kid had. I don't know if I'd want to mess around with one of those. I'll stick with the modern self-defense items. I don't know about Wes. That's it. Wes is the correct answer. It's Michael Smolenski. Beat you to it, Johnny. So which one do you want, Michael? Do you want the tactical pen with the messed up box, courtesy of Mongo, or do you want the BattleTech Kubaton? Let me know. And then shoot me an email. Cool, yeah, you can use it whatever you want it for. Oh, the boomerangs? Yeah. And actually, Johnny, since you got it right at almost the same time, I'll give you second pick. You can have the other one. So whichever one he doesn't want, I'll send to you. So let me know, Michael, which one you want. And then, Johnny, you and Michael send me your whatever address you want me to send this stuff to at rulethewasteland@gmail.com. And the name and address of wherever you want me to send it to, and I'll ship those out to you. Yeah, so anyways, like I said, we've got the riots in France. We got the southern U.S. invasion at the border. We've got the huge California wildfires, which is a massive bug-out type event. And Mexico and South Africa running out of water. We have all sorts of stuff that just indicates why it's important to be prepared at even just basic levels of just bugging out, self-defense, food and water, stuff like that. Hello, James Randall. It's possible that they Google the answer to this question. I would have known that right off the bat because I am the Lord Humongous, and that's a great movie. But at the very least, it shows that you're engaged, you're here early, you're watching, you're ready to do some work. And since I had 2 people already not claim the prize, I'm willing to give away to someone who's ready to Google. So yeah, so Michael, I'll send you the pen, and I will send the Kubaton to Johnny. Just you guys email me what name and address you want me to ship that stuff to. rulethewasteland@gmail.com. So there you go. That's the actor, right? And he was, didn't he also play in Commando? Oh, wait, who is that? Who's Kjell Nielsen? Nilsson. That's what it is. Oh, the Humongous. Yeah. I forget the name of the guy, the Australian guy who played Wes. Because he was acting also in the Commando movie. Yeah, Vernon Wells is his name. Pretty cool. Wes was in Weird Science. Yeah, he was also in Commando. He was Bennett, I think was the character's name. Kidnapped Arnold's kid. Good stuff. Sent. Cool deal, Johnny. I'll get on that with you guys. So yeah, so we're seeing all sorts of stuff. Like if you were in these France riots, you would want to have possibly a gas mask or a M95 or N95 mask or something like that. Possibly fire, things to deal with putting out fires. Definitely some sort of self-defense capability and potentially the ability to sustain your residence for at least a few days. If things got really, really terrible and you just had to camp out in there. And with the southern U.S. invasion, same thing. You don't know how much craziness is going to go on there, what type large area is going to get locked down if the military has to react in an actual, using physical force or things like that, and how close people are depending on things like that. California fires, we've also seen huge examples of probably the biggest example of real type of legitimate bug out scenario in recent history of why you need to be able to leave on a moment's notice, why you need protective gear from elements, from fire, things like that, why you have to have all your stuff staged, why you should be able to leave at a moment's notice, all that good potential, first aid, incidents, all sorts of stuff like that. Communication, maps, all that stuff would be super important in an event like that. And with the water shortages in Mexico and South Africa, obviously why you want to store water and have a way to purify water, maybe even distill or desalinate seawater in places, depending on where in Mexico. Obviously in South Africa, you could get ocean water or other, contaminated water and desalinate it. And that would be or distill it, and that'd be a way to get a lot of usable water. But certainly storage is the easy way. That's what I'm doing out here. I made a video on that. All sorts of stuff you can do. And another thing for just modern everyday preparedness, I've mentioned the dash cam that I use all the time. And I just filmed a video today while driving back from getting lunch of someone just minor accident, but an accident nonetheless, fender bender right in front of us. And, that could be a big deal if you have video footage of an accident, certainly if it's not your fault. But even if it is, maybe someone would make a crazy claim about them getting injured, trying to take advantage of the situation, showing themselves to be injured in a way that you can tell by the video that they're not immediately after, things like that. Or certainly a crazy situation, like maybe you're stopped at a light and someone does something wild, like backs into you, and you have to be able to prove that you didn't hit them from behind. So if the physical evidence shows that the front of your car impacted with the back of their car, and they decide to lie about it, it's very, very difficult to do anything about that if you don't have the physical video evidence. Because in most areas, the person who hits you from behind, even though they ran into you, they wouldn't know that. If it looks like you hit them from behind, then you're going to be at fault. So that's important. I would send you a link to this stuff. I'm not sure how the best way to put links on here. It's really annoying. I should, as the host, I should be able to post links. I get why they don't want everyone viewing to be able to post links, because that could just be a shit show of spam. But there should be a way for me to do it. Maybe I will just yeah, I don't know. I'm not really well prepared for this video. I keep having to look stuff up. Yeah, I will post links after the video is finished. In the link to this description, you will find the link for this. You'll find the link to my email list. Let me try something actually, because if I have the link to my email list, yeah, I don't know how I'll figure it out later. I don't want to do it live while you guys are here, but yeah, I'll have the link to my email list. And also, one of the things I want to tell you guys, this is totally unrelated to prepping, other than financial preparedness, but it's an amazing opportunity because I've used it to get a ton of free flights, and that's the Amex Delta Sky Miles card, especially because with credit card churning, I've done a ton of that. The spending is the part that's usually the hardest to do. Anyone can sign up for a card. Anyone can get the cards unless you have terrible credit, which you probably shouldn't be messing around with that anyway if you're struggled with paying stuff off. But the hard part, so to speak, is spending enough to reach the limit so that you get the bonuses without having to just do a bunch of weird stuff or buy stuff that you wouldn't have otherwise bought. But with the Delta Sky Miles card right now, and I'll put the link in the description after so you guys can get it later, you get 50,000 miles for only $1,000 in spending in 3 months. So if you get that now, even your normal spending for 3 months could probably approach $1,000. And certainly if you do holiday spending, throw it on there, you'll get 50,000 miles, which is enough for potentially 2 round-trip flights, depending on where you're going. But at least 1 round-trip flight almost anywhere in the US for 50,000 is usually pretty easy to find. And you get a free check bag when you have the thing, so that saves you another 25 to 50 bucks anyway, because multiple people who are on that ticket get free check bags. So that makes it a fantastic deal. So I definitely recommend you guys getting that. And if you use the link to get the 50,000 miles for yourself, I also get 12,000 miles. So that's fantastic. Yeah, I thought I've seen streamers post links before too, so I'll have to figure out exactly what I need to do that. I don't want to do it now and interrupt the chat by looking that stuff up. I'll just post it afterwards. But if you don't feed the migrants, they will go home. It depends. I mean, they'll probably just go to try to find another place to get in. They're not going to try once they find out how what kind of resolve the military at those spots have. They will just go somewhere else on the border. We're not covering the entire border. There certainly isn't any physical barriers on the entire border. So this is mostly just almost like a protest, more so than it is a legitimate attempt to get in. Because if someone was legitimately trying to get into the country, the last place you would want to be is with this massive group of migrants where the military is waiting. You could just wander. All the attention's there. You could get in all sorts of other places right now. So it wouldn't be that hard, honestly. I don't think so. I catered that movie in the 80s. Cater, I'm not sure. Just trying to make you have some confidence in yourself. Oh, well, I appreciate it, bro. I have for sure seen, okay, they will still get through. Some of them will. Did illegal foreigners start the California wildfires? I mean, who knows? You can't count. There's always going to be fires in wooded areas, especially in a dry place like California. So the best thing you can do is have an ability to deal with it as best you can and do stuff like removing all the brush and just forestry management that can help prevent the spread of it, different things that you can stage ahead of time, or clearing out dead wood in certain areas to prevent the spread. And apparently a lot of that wasn't being done in the name of conservation, and that's what Trump was referring to when he's talking about this stuff being poorly managed. But it's certainly possible that a foreigner started it, but to me that's mostly irrelevant to the facts of the fire. I've heard a lot of people say that one of the electric companies' equipment was like sparking in the woods and stuff, and they'd been talking about they're having issues and stuff sparking almost immediately before the fire was taking place. And then there's other people who have crazy theories about energy weapons blasting it because Agenda 21 is trying to reclaim all this area, and so they're going to burn everybody out. That doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. But, believe what you will, you still have to deal with the fire, and that's what preparedness is all about. Is regardless of why these things happen, you have to be ready to deal with them. And it shows just how real world preparedness is. And that's why I think this stuff is super important, because we're seeing more and more of these events. And we may never see a major shit fan event in the, like a widespread grid down or something like that. And because, or, even a massive economic collapse that causes massive problems. But there's always going to be stuff that you could disrupt your life in certain ways, whether financially, whether that's with your utilities, whether it's health and wellness, whether it's self-defense, food and water. You just always need to be ready for this stuff because there's so many different things that can happen. That's why I talk about stuff like dash cams, which isn't normally a prepper thing, but these are the type of things that happen. How many people's lives have been disrupted by car accidents and not having the proper proof of what happened, or police encounters, or road rage incident, and not had the way to deal with that, versus how many people's lives in America in the past 100 years have been disrupted by major shit hit the fan events. Much more have been disrupted by the financial stuff, the police encounters, the road rage, the insurance incidents, and this is less than $200, and you can basically solve those problems, or a significant number of them. Exactly, shit the fan is every day. That's the biggest mistake preppers make, is planning for some random specific thing. Is my stream the only one experiencing toxic lag? I don't know. I've been having weird issues with my internet. Uploads have been really slow, especially. It doesn't look like it's on my end, but the chat does seem to be going a little slow. So if anyone else is having it, I don't know if there's anything I can do on this end. Yeah, California has a bunch of strange policies, all related to, well, all sorts of problems. But, conservation is their big excuse for a lot of that stuff. Some of it's related to just their general ideology of the government there, and collectivism and things like that. It just doesn't work out, centrally managing stuff. And it's funny, the stuff that should be centrally managed, like some of the forestry management, they just aren't doing properly. So it's a big problem. But let me know what any questions you guys have in here. I'm not going to do one too long today. I've just got back from traveling to the Great White North for some family Thanksgiving events. So I'm just trying to do a chill something, get something up on the channel, interact with my loyal followers and whatnot. And yeah, check the links in the description for the stuff like the credit card, the emailing list. It'll all be in there. And hopefully by next time I will find a way to post links actively in the chat. Because a lot of times people ask me a question in the chat, live chat, and I'll be like, oh yeah, sure, I got that, and try to send a link to either a product or something like that. I already gave it away. You're too late, Krim. But I'll be doing more on the email list, so sign up for it. And if you get the email, check your spam folders and stuff, because I had 2 people that won this and never claimed it, never sent me the email. I emailed them multiple times and they never checked it. So I told them that every time that after 5 days of being unclaimed, I'll find a new winner. And that didn't happen. So I just had to figure out something else to do. Pretty wild. Pretty wild stuff. Yeah, so what do we got? Let's see some questions. I've been talking about everyday preparedness, France riots, all sorts of stuff like that. How you doing, Highbrow Mars? How do I get on email list? It's if you go to rulethewasteland.com, there's a sign up in the sidebar. If you go to any of my recent videos, there's a link in the description. There will be a link in the description to this after it is not live any longer, and I can edit the description. So that's how you do it. And I really don't send out very much. I'll usually send out a notification when I'm uploading a video because YouTube's notification is so crappy. And I'll send out some tips and tricks and just random deals. Sometimes, like I found a deal on ammo, super cheap, 10-22 or a 22 long rifle ammo. Wasn't affiliate sale or anything like that. I just found it and sent it out. So just stuff like that. There's a lot of Tristans. They're having a battle in the comments. Pretty interesting. What would be in your car for winter? Depends on where I am. So here, my car kit doesn't change much. I just add a little bit of like a winter jacket of some kind, even just a hoodie or something like that, because it never gets bitterly cold here, like way below freezing. But it will be significant difference sometimes in between the daytime temperature and the nighttime temperature. So every once in a while, most of the time I always take it with me, something that I want to wear with me anyways, but every once in a while you'll get stuck out longer than you thought, or it'll just get a lot colder than you thought, and all of a sudden you're like, I was out here and it was in the 70s or 60s, and now it's in the low 40s or something like that. Pretty significant difference, so I keep that in there. Other than that, it's just the regular car kit. The winter doesn't change much around here. Just the first aid supplies, basic, car fixing kit like jumper cables, gloves, some, stuff to change a flat tire, zip ties. It's a couple trash bags, some markings, and just random gear like that. And then, a multi-tool, extra knife, and then just random things like a first aid kit, like I mentioned, we got a tourniquet and some first aid supplies in there, stuff like that. But nothing that's specifically, space blankets are fantastic. I have one in there, which those are Great for not taking a whole lot of space and still being quite insulated. And they can be used as a marker. They can be used to collect water. They can be used for all sorts of stuff. And so other than that, other than maybe an extra jacket or something, I wouldn't put too much extra in my car for winter here. If I lived somewhere that was significantly colder, then yeah, I would have all sorts of different stuff in there. I would have a lot more clothing, some sort of heating elements, you know, like the hot hands things, and some sort of maybe stove or something like that. Probably a good pair of gloves and boots, maybe even extra back there, because you have to think not only about yourself, but maybe you'll be with someone. Yeah, gun and mags is great too. But you might be with someone who is woefully unprepared if your car breaks down and you're out in the snow or something like that, and you'll need extra gear. So a hat or a hood or something like that, and ability to warm yourself up, maybe create a fire. And I have like fire starters and stuff in there, but nothing significant. Because mine is mostly for, my car kit is mostly as a very small kind of get home bag, or just everyday type urban survival stuff, because I'm never really, if I go farther from my house, if I'm traveling somewhere a couple hours away, then I add quite a bit more. You know, I'll just usually just throw a bug out bag in the car with me, which covers pretty much everything else too. But I don't carry my full bug out bag in my car all the time, simply because on a day-to-day basis here in Vegas, it's almost never that I'm more than 10 miles from the place, and usually I'm closer than that. Occasionally I'll be 15 miles away, but I'm never farther than I could get in a few, you know, 1 day's worth of trucking home. Even if I had to just run, I could do that in a few hours at least. I believe that Syracuse is cold. I got a friend who went to school up in Syracuse. Sex bot and vodka. Sex bots aren't good enough for me yet. I want perfection before I spend that kind of money. I don't need someone who's going to lay there like a pile of dirty laundry. Moving blankets are, yeah, they're good too. They might be a little itchy and stuff, but they're heavy duty. I have stuff like some, what are they called? Not stretchy cable, bungee cables, bungee cords, things like that. Ability to tie stuff in your car if you have something big. You never leave the dead hookers and blow in your car. That's a rookie mistake. Rookie mistake. Yeah, you could have a spare gun or trunk gun if you have, depending on the laws in your ammo. Storing ammo long term. You can buy, I mean, ammo stores pretty well long term. There's not much you have to do. If you're in an incredibly humid place, or an incredibly, you know, somewhere that would have something, maybe right on the ocean or something like that, you might be worried about salt spray, then you'd want to put some of the ammo in some airtight cases, and maybe even O2 absorbers, certainly at least some desiccants. But if you just have a normal ammo can with a good seal and modern ammo, it'll store for decades like that without too much extra work. And you shouldn't have too many issues. But oxygen, or I mean, moisture absorbers and a good sealable container is going to be even better. And that's usually what you need to do. Rock, Nevada, water, water, water. Yeah, that's it. That's the most important thing out here. It would get wild out here. Yeah, cash is good to have. I always carry some cash in my wallet. It's not a bad idea to have some extra in a car kit, because so many people just always rely on credit cards. And when my day-to-day spending, I use almost exclusively credit cards for the points, and then just pay it off right away. But I always like to carry cash, because even something as simple as going and having to split a bill at a restaurant, they have Venmo and stuff like that now, which makes it easier. Or like here, the casinos, you can't use your card. ATMs aren't always going to work. Sometimes places will be down. There's still some places that only take cash, you know, some restaurant or some businesses. So you never know. It just always helps to have, you know, 50 to 100 bucks or something, nothing crazy, but just some cash in there. And certainly if there's any sort of shit hit the fan event, and where electricity's down, you still need to buy things in the early onset of a major event, cash is going to be king. Your wife saw a furry at the grocery store shopping and yipping. What's taking the apocalypse so long? I know. Sometimes you just need a good cleansing. What's changing? Go buy a shit ton of bleach and some more Voda. I think you mean vodka. Yeah. Best pocket knife for under $50. I've mentioned this several times. I think the Ontario Rat folder is the best value for under 50 bucks. It's actually incredible, and it's significantly under 50 bucks. You can get them for under 30 bucks a lot of times, and they're just fantastic. I carried one. I have several of them. I carried one exclusively as like my main EDC knife for years, everyday use, and I like the ones that include the serration, and they have some both. They have one that's just a straight edge, one that's serrated, and it's just a fantastic overall EDC knife. There's not a single bit of wiggle in the blade or anything like that after carrying it for years. It's a fantastic for the value, and now they even have a small version of it. It's exactly the same knife, same construction, but they make it even smaller, which is good for areas where you have to, for, you know, in some areas like here in Vegas, we want to conceal a knife, it has to be under 3.5 inches, maybe under 3 inches. I don't remember. I'll have to look that up. Oops, I need to know that. But to actually conceal, you can open carry anything you want. So oil lamps are good. Oil lamps, you know, they have their place. I don't think it's good for your main source of light, or, you know, in a major event. But they're good for short term, and they're good backups for if there is an EMP or something like that. I think it's really easy now to get either propane lanterns, even, which those are EMP proof as well, and all sorts of electric stuff, which is good. So the only real reason you would need something that's not electric is in the event of a tryptophan, or I mean a EMP or some sort of massive coronal ejection or something like that. CCW does not work for knives as well as firearms in every state. In Florida, the concealed carry permit covered everything. You could conceal carry a shotgun, knives. Here in Vegas and in other states, but here in Nevada, the CCW only covers handguns. It doesn't even cover all guns, and it doesn't cover knives. You can get a secondary concealed carry permit for knives from the sheriff, but is not shall issue. It's may issue. You just have to petition them or ask for it, and they'll get. And I don't know yet. I haven't researched it enough to know if that is only for one specific knife. Like if you have a knife, like a Cold Steel Voyager or Vaquero or something like that, and you say, I want to carry this knife, does the permit only apply to that knife, or does the permit allow you to carry any knife concealed? But it is not covered by the firearms concealed carry permits. That's important to know. So check your state, because it might be the same for your state. In Florida, it was great because the permit carried everything. You could stick a shotgun in your pant leg and hobble around. You could carry a sword, not any type of knife, and all that was covered by the concealed carry permit, which is obviously the way I think it should be, because if you're trusting someone to conceal carry a firearm, why on earth would you not trust them to conceal carry a knife too? It just adds a stupid layer of bureaucracy and like an arbitrary cutoff point that's just going to get people in trouble. The only way that could possibly come into play is if someone who has a valid CCW permit is concealed carrying a knife illegally. That's just so stupid that that's even a thing, that you would potentially could bust someone for concealed carrying a knife that's 4-inch blade when they're allowed to conceal carry 15 handguns if they want. It's just asinine. I'm glad to hear that you tell us the same way. I have not seen anything that I would consider a UFO, a genuine UFO. Ganzo clones of Spyderco knives are pretty amazing. Spyderco knives in general are pretty amazing as well. I like them. I don't think most of them are under 50 bucks. There may be a couple of smaller ones that are. Any ideas for a good taser pistol? I have never used a taser pistol, so I'm not familiar with which brands would be good. I think if you're gonna, the taser pistols are so big, I would probably go with a pepper spray instead of one of those, because you get the same distance, you get multiple shots, which most of the taser guns don't have, at least not without quickly reloading it, and it's going to be a lot cheaper and easier to carry, because the taser guns are fairly big. It depends on what you're doing, though. If you're doing like security work and you're going to open carry it, yeah, it'd be good. But I think for the average person, a pepper spray would be more useful in a more variety of situations, easier to use, and a hell of a lot cheaper. So that would be my opinion on that. But I haven't used any of the taser guns or researched them, so I don't have any ability to tell you which ones are good or not. No worries, no worries. But yeah, I think pepper spray is one of the most like overlooked self-defense tools in general. I think it should be carried by a lot of people who also carry guns, because there's just a whole host of situations where you really probably would want to do something. Someone's just being shady. You don't know exactly what's going on, but you can't justify legally, or you're worried about being able to legally justify using lethal force. And believe me, if you're using a knife or a gun, you are using lethal force, whether you intend to or not. And that's very important to remember. In your opinion, is M14 better than AR-10 or vice versa, and why? It depends on preference. When it comes down to these modern weapons, it's all preference. And depending on, you know, your scope of use. Like If you're hunting a moose, obviously there's more than preference involved. You're going to need something of a certain size caliber to reliably do the job. Someone posted in one of my videos angrily that 22s have killed every animal on the North American continent. Yeah, I'm sure they have. And someone has knives have probably killed every animal on the North American continent too at some point or another. Doesn't mean if you're going to hunt a bear, you want to just bring a knife with you. You want something that is reliably going to accomplish the job. And a 22 is not reliably going to kill a moose. But other than that, for like something that has a similar cartridge, it's just preference. Mini 14s are fantastic guns, and they're really rugged. They're probably going to be cheaper, and or not mini for the M14. And wait, what am I getting this confused? Let me make sure I'm not talking out my ass. Okay, yeah, the M14, not the Mini 14. Yeah, but yeah, it just comes down to preference. Most people are going to like the ubiquitousness of the AR style rifle, all the gadgets that you can get for it, and the easier finding magazines and stuff like that, and just the platform they're used to. Maybe even just like the look of it better. But it like I said, it comes down to preference and how much you're willing to spend and things like that. I don't think either one of those in any situation you would have it in would be a bad choice. Let's put it that way. If you were in any situation with an AR-10 and someone swapped it out with an M14 and vice versa, I don't think it would ever be a huge problem unless the person was just not comfortable with that weapon. But if you're having a problem with either one of those weapons, it's not going to be because it isn't the other one of those two. It's just going to be because there's something about like that round probably that wasn't ideal, or that just style of weapon or something like that. Best house self-defense weapon to injure intruders. You never want to try to just injure people. That's a bad idea, because anytime you're doing something to injure someone legally, there's no way for them to know. The intent is only in your head. So if you're hitting someone with a bat, let's say, that certainly has the ability to kill someone. Even a single punch has killed people on many occasions. So that's why I always stress the importance of stuff like pepper spray and grappling as opposed to just kickboxing, or pepper spray and tasers as opposed to just guns and knives. Because anytime you're doing physical trauma, even if it's light, like a bat, a one punch, something like that, they certainly could die. So you never want to do something like that if them dying would be a bad outcome or a legally unjustifiable outcome, because then you're stuck with that. And you could say, well, I wasn't trying to kill him. And they said, well, you hit him with a baseball bat, or you kicked him in the head or something like that. Like, you have to know that that's, could certainly be fatal. So if you're not trying to kill, you never want to try and shoot to wound people. You never want to try to do warning shots, almost never, because you should just never be shooting unless you're trying to kill someone or hit a target of some kind. But if there's some sort of self-defense altercation and you pull the trigger, that bullet's going somewhere and it could kill someone. So you better be hoping that that's the outcome, because if it is and you're not ready for it, or that wasn't what you're intending, you could be in a world of trouble. Bear pepper spray, I don't recommend for humans. It's just easy enough to get regular pepper spray for that. And I recommend the foam kind. It used to be back in the day, pepper spray would make kind of a giant cloud of gas, which, if it went off somewhere, even if you purposely sprayed someone, it might get everyone in the room. Now they have, most modern pepper sprays, but make sure you check this, have kind of like a gel-like foam that has a more restricted cone, and it shoots a little farther too, because it's less of like a gas and more of like a foam. So it's easier to aim, it goes farther, and it's more contained. So it was not going to necessarily get you using it or everyone in the room. I've never heard of tranquilizer guns in a self-defense situation. Probably really expensive, and also another one that could be dangerous because you're administering some kind of sedative with a tranquilizer gun, and that could certainly kill someone if they have an allergic reaction to it, if it's just the dosages are wrong. And again, like, you don't have the ability to adjust the dosages on the fly. So if it's a 100-pound person running at you or a 300-pound person running at you, and you shoot them with a dart, are you going to shoot them multiple times or whatever? It's not realistic for defense. I'm sure they have their place, but there's a reason why you don't hear these things being used. But I think the main problem would be just incredibly expensive, and it's probably illegal to have those type of drugs just at your house. Any sort of heavy duty tranquilizer that's really going to take some out with one dart, you're not just going to be able to buy that stuff legally. What caliber for home defense pistol? Like I said, preference depends on your concerns, what you're trying to accomplish, what you're comfortable with. If you're home defense, so you're talking about not a concealed carry gun, I don't think there's any reason to go below 9mm because you just don't need a gun that small. Anyone can shoot 9mm. Anyone can shoot almost every pistol for that matter if they're comfortable with it. But anyone can accurately shoot 9mm. You get some of this plus P self-defense ammo, and you get plenty of stopping power. If you're worried about penetration, you get the frangible ammunition. So I wouldn't go less than 9mm. Beyond that, it's a preference. Do you want more stopping power? Do you want more, or do you want more capacity? Do you want something that's cheaper? Do you just like certain guns? 9mm, 40 cal, 10mm, all those are pretty fine. They're all going to do the job. So at that point, it's what features you're looking for, what you're concerned about, and what your personal preferences are. I personally switch between all of them depending on what gun I feel like you know having ready to go at the time. But it's usually between those three: 40, not a 45, or 9mm. So right now I am using mostly 9mm, and I got the Winchester Defender plus P hollow points in there. But for the longest time, I had 45 in my Kimber, and I love that gun too. It just has slightly less capacity. So 300-pound people don't run. You haven't watched any football. I have a variety of put you to sleep handguns. Any handgun can put you to sleep, that's for sure. That is for sure. Even 22s. There's just no reason to use a 22 when you can use a 9mm or greater. And that's another interesting thing is even there's no 22 handgun. You would think that they would have one that would have some insane capacity, but I just haven't seen that, which is weird because that's one of the main advantages of the 22 is the ability to carry a lot of ammo with less weight and the cheapness. So you can get 9mm handguns that hold 17 or 19 rounds or something like that in them. But I've never seen a 22 handgun that holds over 10 rounds. They might be, I mean, not without an extended magazine at least, but just a regular flush magazine. There's a really cool new Ruger Mark IV Tactical, I think, version that I saw in some NRA magazine. Let me see if I can. I'd love to pick one of those out. It's got the ability to add some fun because I love that weapon and it's a great 22. And I definitely recommend having 22 gun and ammo because you can have so much ammo. Father and grandfather debate the topic every chance they get, like religiously. That's funny. About that. Yeah, I mean, so much of that of gun choices is preference. If you stick with the major brands, the ones that and major formats that everyone's ever heard, that heard of and have been there over the years, they're good guns. We know these cartridges performance. We know the guns. Like, so arguing about like an AK versus an AR is just stupid because it's just, or something like that, or two different brands, the same thing. Like some things have minor issues. Every gun has certain little things that are good and bad about it. So at that point, it's just preference. If you're talking about super low end stuff or super high end stuff, maybe you can argue the merits versus the other end of the spectrum in terms of which one is actually better. But for most of the stuff, it just comes down to preference. So don't be shy about saying, I just don't like that. I prefer this. Test it out. Make sure it works for what you're going to work. Make sure you are good with it. And that's what's important. Ruger rifle has a double 25 mag, so that is 50 on tap. The rifles, sure, yeah. I have one of those just on the other side of the room here for the 10-22. But I was talking about the max capacity for a 22 handgun. The most I've seen is 10. 10 and 1 in the chamber for like the Mark IV. And I don't know if there's one that has any more than that without an extended magazine. I keep a 357 revolver always loaded. Don't ever worry about spring compression. Yeah, that's what I was talking to someone recently. I don't think spring compression is a major issue as long if you're using your gun even semi-regularly. Springs from an engineering standpoint, they tend to wear out from use, not from like actually setting or whatever eventually. But that's eventually. I mean, you see like springs and car valves and things like that last for millions of repetitions over long, long periods of time. Having a loaded magazine in your handgun for 5 years is not normally going to be a problem. But if you're worried about it, just cycle the ammo out. Cycle through every couple months or something like that. It's not that hard. Magazines are cheap too. There's no reason to like not leave a magazine loaded or something because you're worried that it's going to wear out eventually. Like magazines are not expensive. And it just isn't that big of a concern that you're just going to go to load your magazine and the spring is completely useless and isn't loading the ammo. This doesn't happen that often. And if it does, try another brand, try another gun, things like that. Certainly, if you leave a loaded magazine for 30 years or something, you might have an issue with it seizing up or otherwise being defective. So if you want to bury a cache, I would probably put a revolver in there before I put a bunch of loaded magazines, or a bolt action weapon of some kind. But for just normal considerations, I don't think springs in magazines and weapons are that big of a concern. Have some extras if you're worried about it. The 357s revolvers are fantastic. Because one of the guns, that's one of the only modern calibers that I don't have right now is a 357. I'm definitely would like to get one of those. I like the Ruger revolvers of the 6-inch Smith & Wessons. I really like the design and the capacity of the M&P Smith & Wesson 357. Looks cool too. Someone needs to make a drum for 22 handguns. It would be amazing. I mean, even just if you can fit 19 rounds in the handle of a 9mm by destaggering it, you should probably be able to fit more than that of a 22, at least 25 rounds or something like that. I don't see why they haven't done that yet. I would send you a video if I could. It's so funny. Like every time we go out and shoot my grandfather's deer, it says something like "you and your damn Mattel guns." Yeah, and you can shoot 38 also with 357, which gives you a double capability, which is very, very nice. Gives you more choices. If someone else wants to, if your wife or someone is scared of 357 and the recoil, you can put 38 special on. I've always really liked the airweight Smith & Wessons for like an ankle gun or a backup conceal. You can use them for your main concealed carry if you want to, because they're nice and small, but you still get the stopping power of a decent round. And they have their hammerless, or no external hammer anyway, so you're not going to snag it on the way out. Really easy to use guns. The lightweight does make them a little bit hard to be incredibly accurate with. But when you're talking about a self-defense gun, most self-defense engagements are within 7 yards anyway. So if you can't hit something at 7 yards with a airweight Smith & Wesson, you need to practice more. That's just the bottom line. Yeah, you can get extended magazines for the Glock, but I'm talking about, yeah, you can get huge. That's crazy. 30-round mags in a Glock. That's awesome. Awesome. So much cool stuff out there. One of the guns that I really like that I just saw, I went to the gun store with a friend the other day, and I hadn't seen these yet. I try to avoid actually reading too much about guns because it's just painful when I can't buy them. So I don't actually know as much as I should, because if I trolled the forums and read about all the new releases and stuff, I would be even more poor than I am right now. So I don't keep up on that stuff too much, actually. But the Mossberg Shockwave, which is actually a tiny, tiny shotgun, it's actually a non-NFA item because it's a shorter barrel than is allowed for what's considered a shotgun. But by their definitions in other areas, it doesn't fall under shotguns. It doesn't count as a smoothbore pistol. It just falls into a non-NFA, non-National Firearms Act weapon. So it has much less restrictions on it that way. But it's basically just a Mad Max style pump shotgun with a tiny barrel and a pistol grip. And I was going to see it can shoot 3-inch magnums out of it. So I was thinking about buying one of those, going out in the desert and having you guys watch me try to shoot 3-inch magnums with a pistol grip and see if it breaks my wrist. It would be fun, man. Great home defense gun right there. Go look up the Mossberg Shockwave. It's pretty fantastic. Love the way that thing looks. And it would be a great shotgun to throw onto a bug out bag or something like that. Obviously, one that probably had an extended stock of some kind would be better for hunting and whatnot. But this thing is small, so it's easier to carry, and you can get them in 20 gauge too. Kel-Tec PMR 30 pistol carry 30 rounds and 20. Okay, there we go. I figured there would be one out there. Is that with a magazine, extended magazine, or is that just with a normal size flush magazine? Kel-Tec PMR 30. Let me look that up, because I knew there had to be something. There's no reason why you couldn't have that capacity in a 22. I'll have to get one of those. I knew there had to be some way, because that would be just a great backup pistol for, I should hit the fan thing or something. Flush normal mag. Awesome. All right. That's why you guys are great. Give me information on this stuff. Cool deal. I will have to look into that. Yeah, exactly. They have the straps on the ones that I was looking at, the 4-strap especially, because you want to be able to hold on to that little bastard. Lightweight. Does Mongo cut my hair? No, my hair is just all jacked up because I was laying down for a second. And it's getting so when I lay on it, it like smashes my hair up. And then I look like a maniac. If you get a Remington Shockwave, get the 4. Oh yeah, that was it. Mongo does not cut my hair. And this is one thing I was with all I have been talking about 22s not being ideal for self-defense or hunting or anything like that. You can still do all that stuff with it. And I was talking with someone else about this, how stockpiling 10/22, like, tens of thousands of rounds or whatever, that you can do fairly cheaply compared to any other. If it gets to that point, shit hit the fan style, like major shit hit the fan event, and you are through all your other ammo, basically, which would be gnarly if you somehow, especially for preppers, if you get through all your ammo, some crazy stuff has probably happened. But if you somehow have done that and you're somehow alive, the 22s would still be good, because at that point, if the preppers are out of ammo, all their main ammo, their thousands of rounds, and they're even into their backup 10/22 stores, most other people are just not going to have guns to begin with. So a 22 at that point would be much more formidable than it would be in any other situation, simply because you're going to be one of the only few people with a gun with actual ammunition for it. So that's why it's always great to have a big stockpile of that stuff. And you can still do all that stuff. You can use self-defense. You can hunt a lot of animals, even larger animals. It's just not, like I said, it's not as reliable. So you might just injure them and then not be able to track it down. It's just not going to give you the same results with self-defense or hunting that a larger caliber gun would. Kel-Tecs are fine. I've never had issues with Kel-Tec. You just have to realize that they're not a high-end brand, especially now, though. They've been pretty good, and I haven't had anyone that I know, that's had a ton of problems with it. Sometimes you just get lemons, and I had a buddy who had a SIG Mosquito. Are they the ones who make the Mosquito 22 rifle? And he just had nothing but problems with that gun. It was just horrible. And it was like, if that was the only person I'd known who had one of these, I would think that that SIG was like made trash guns, because it was just nothing but problems. He had like a total lemon with it. I don't know what the issue was, but it would just jam after jam, all different ammos, this like stovepipes and extraction issues, just failure to feed, just every problem you can imagine he had with this gun. And he was not some novice. He knew guns. He knew how to like treat them carefully and everything. It's just something about this particular gun. So it just depends. 5 rounds of 22 long rifle equals an apple in Bartertown. Yeah, right. Apple, you can't even you maybe get an apple for 5 apples for 1 round of 22 long rifle by the time you get to Bartertown situation. But yeah. Well, all right, guys, we're getting about 50 minutes. I'll do a few more minutes and then close this out. I have a Kel-Tec P3AT hand cannon. Yeah, the P3AT has been around for a while. It's pretty much the Kel-Tec version of the Ruger LCP, if I remember correctly, but it may predate the LCP, if I'm not mistaken. They've been around for a long time. And they were one of the first like little ones, if I'm not mistaken, like that. And they're fine guns. I don't particularly like them. They're too like smooth and hard to rack and slide and things like that. At least they were back in the day. I'm sure they've updated them slightly. But I've had some friends who had those and had never had any issues with them at all. And then, like I said, I had someone who had a SIG and had nothing but problems. So yeah, they are lighter. I think they're slightly smaller too, if I'm not mistaken. It is super thin, but it makes them almost hard to rack and things like that. But not bad for a little backup gun. It can even be your primary concealed carry gun. 380 is a capable round, better than not having anything. So, all right, guys, thanks for watching. The guys who won the prizes here, make sure you email me. And check out the links in the description after this video posts for how to get your free flights for only spending $1,000 that you were going to spend anyway for the holidays. And the dash cam. Make sure you don't fall victim to some either road scams or any other crazy stuff. And sign up for the email list. I'll be giving away more stuff. Thanks for watching, guys. Talk to you later. Got more videos coming this week.